John Arensmeyer is a founder and chief executive officer of Small Business Majority. You may proceed.
Chairman Buchanan, Ranking Member Doggett, members of the committee, thank you very much for inviting me to speak with you today. I was a longtime small business owner prior to founding Small Business Majority 12 years ago. For 13 years, I was the founder and CEO of an award-winning interactive communications company, and earlier I was the chief operating officer of a pioneering multimedia business. I founded Small Business Majority to serve as a leading advocate for America's 30 million entrepreneurs. We have a network of 58,000 small businesses across the country with offices, 9 offices here and in 7 states. Despite the undeniable importance of small business to our nation's economy, we are too often left behind during national policy debates and decisions. Our polling finds that 7 in 10 small business owners believe their business is harmed when big corporations use loopholes to avoid taxes, and 85% feel the tax code unfairly benefits large corporations and wealthy Americans. The new tax law has done nothing to address this disparity. Indeed, the new law increases the deficit by $1.5 trillion without giving most entrepreneurs a significant tax break. It adds more complexity and confusion and fails to address loopholes that disadvantage small businesses. First, the real winners of the new tax law are large corporations and wealthy individuals, not the 30 million Main Street small businesses. The law slashes corporate tax rates from 35% to 21%, even though only 5% of small businesses pay corporate taxes. Additionally, the law's treatment of pass-through entities gives the bulk of the benefit to a small sliver of wealthy business owners, not to Main Street. A new report from the Joint Committee on Taxation reveals a whopping 44% of the new pass-through deductions, $17.4 billion, will benefit approximately 200,000 individuals making $1 million or more. In 2024, this will increase to $31.6 billion. According to the JCT report, the majority of the 2018 tax reduction benefit will go to the top 2.3% of pass-through firms, and by 2024, that percentage drops to 1%. By our calculations, a business owner earning $600,000 per year will save 26 times that of an owner with $75,000 in income, despite only earning 8 times more. Most small businesses are indeed very small enterprises that bring in a modest income. According to the Tax Policy Center, less than 2%, 1.7% to be exact, of all pass-through businesses with average profits of nearly $750,000 account for the majority of all pass-through income. These enterprises reaping most of the benefits of the pass-through deductions are most definitely not your typical Main Street small businesses. Moreover, recent polling found a majority of small businesses say they do not plan on hiring new employees or giving raises as a result of the new tax law, and believe that the law favors large corporations over small firms. Second, the tax cuts are structured in a way that is temporary, convoluted, and confusing. Some quotes from our members. Mike Bray, owner of a hobby-based retail store in Maryland: "We are all anxious for advice and clarification, having been told too many competing narratives." Annie Wadsworth, second-generation owner of a bagel shop in upstate New York: "After doing quite a bit of research regarding the tax law, I'm still confused as to what the changes mean for me and my employees." David Arena, owner of a commercial real estate media business in Philadelphia: "They missed an opportunity to simplify taxes for small businesses. I don't actually think this will help us very much when all is said and done." It's not surprising that the National Small Business Association found in a recent survey of its members that a mere 7% say they think filing taxes will become easier under the new law. A third are considering switching from a pass-through entity to a C corporation, and a majority say the temporary nature of the tax cuts is an issue for their business. Third, the new tax law creates an even more unequal playing field for small businesses by allowing a few multinational corporations to funnel their profits to the lowest taxation foreign jurisdictions, a provision small firms are unable to take advantage of. This primarily benefits 30 large corporations, and according to the CBO, corporations will shift $235 billion in profits annually offshore. To make matters worse, this provision sits on top of yet another loophole in the law, allowing large multinational corporations to repatriate their past profits at a deeply discounted rate. And last but not least, the new tax code, with its large gap between top individual rates and top pass-through rates, only encourages wealthy individuals to game the system by simply declaring themselves pass-through business entities. In short, America's hardworking entrepreneurs don't want special treatment. We simply want to compete on a level playing field. We had a once-in-a-generation chance to make our tax code work better for small businesses, and we blew it. Thank you.
It seems to me, Mr. Arensmeyer, that if the goal here was to really focus attention on small businesses across America, that it would have been much simpler to just have a small business deduction that would focus on small businesses rather than to shower so many of the benefits on people like the Trump organization that seemed to be doing fairly well before this tax law was ever enacted. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, Congressman. There are many ways to deliver relief to small businesses, but the 76% of small businesses make less than $100,000 in net income. Majority of the average income for self-employed entrepreneurs is about $50,000. So, you know, there's some gentlemen up here who run very successful businesses, and more power to them. But the fact of the matter is, there's 30 million small businesses in this country, and the vast majority are not making that kind of money. So if you want to give them a break, there are ways to do it. We proposed something last year. That's not the only way to do it, but certainly the way to do it is not to have cuts coming from the top so that, you know, the majority of benefits go to 2.3% of pass-through firms.
You could cap in some way the pass-through benefits so that it was focused on doing more for those who are trying to become bigger businesses instead of those at the very top, so that the benefits aren't skewed. That'd be one way, and having a small business standard deduction would be another.
You could just have a cut, say, you know, the first $25,000 worth of income isn't taxed, and then you cap it for businesses making over, say, $200,000. I mean, there's no, you know, there's multiple ways to do it. That's a bottom-up approach. That's where you're going to give direct benefit to most small businesses and not have it coming down from the top.
Those are the kind of concepts that a real genuine hearing looking at this tax law last year might have provided us a better spot for small businesses than, as you said quite correctly, an opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we blew. Thank you very much.
I want to begin my question with Mr. Arensmeyer. I must say that your written testimony was spot on with what I've been hearing back home. And I know you discussed it a bit already, but with the little time that I have left, I'd like you to expand a bit on your second and third points. To me, these are really interrelated. The new tax law provisions are so convoluted that most small business owners will have to spend large sums of money to stay on the right side of the law, while sophisticated, wealthy taxpayers will be able to continue to game the system. What are you hearing from your members about how this is beginning to play out?
Well, Congresswoman, as I mentioned in my testimony, we're hearing that there's tremendous confusion. I should point out there have been surveys done by groups across the political spectrum, from the NFIB, the NSBA, and Businesses for Responsible Tax Reform. All of them find there's tremendous confusion out there. So this is not a partisan response to this issue. And you can see the chart that the ranking member put up there. This bill certainly did not do anything to improve on the tax law's confusion.
Thank you.
Mr. Arensmeyer, you say in your testimony that the National Small Business Association found that a mere 7% of its members say they think filing taxes will become easier under the new tax law. Can you explain how this complexity makes it harder for small businesses to focus on business rather than on working through complicated taxes?
Yes, Congressman. The tax law is complicated as it is, and as I think we've heard, it was sold as a simplification measure. It's definitely not that. I mean, we're hearing nothing but confusion out there, and obviously, it goes without saying that the time that's spent dealing with paperwork and tax matters is time away from actually running the business and courting customers and focusing on the product, et cetera. So that has not been something that has been fixed at all. I did want to add one other thing. I mean, we've heard a lot about the success of businesses. Now, there's no question the economy is better. Now, it's much better for those at the top than at the bottom, but it is kind of better all around. And clearly, we're hearing more small business confidence. It's not because of the tax law. It's because of a growing economy over the last 8 years pulling out of the Great Recession. So I just wanted to make that point.
And also, do you have any of your small business owners telling you that they expect to file their taxes on a postcard?
That was generally what was talked about.
This talks about from that side of this dais, but it's not a reality.
No, it's not a reality.
So, Mr. Arensmeyer, the Republican tax bill, as you know, repealed the individual mandate. So how will this impact current small business owners like Rashonda or those who are considering starting a small business?
Well, Congresswoman, you're absolutely right. It repealed the individual mandate. The percentage of first of all, everyone forgets when talking about this, everyone thinks it was great before the passage of the ACA, but actually, if you start looking at what's happened with the Affordable Care Act since its passage, the tremendous benefits to small business. 31% of small business employees were without coverage prior to the ACA. That number has dropped to 19%. That's 4 million additional small business employees covered. The percentages are almost identical among self-employed entrepreneurs. In addition, when it comes to costs, the only comparison we can do is in the small group market because the individual market was so different. The costs were increasing 10.4% average annually before the ACA. It's been 5.2% in the small group market since then. So we've seen tremendous benefits to getting a lot more independent entrepreneurs, small business owners, and small business employees covered. And the problem is the individual mandate is a significant part of that. And this law did remove that, and now the problem is, there's a risk of not having healthy younger people in the system, and that there's going to be pressure on rates going up, not because of the Affordable Care Act, but because of the removal of a key provision.
Mm-hmm. And are you hearing that from a lot of your members?
Yes, in fact, healthcare ranks much higher than taxes on all the surveys we do in terms of importance to small business.
So will the Republican tax law incentivize growth and hiring, or will it give small business owners anxiety about whether they can afford to grow and still provide competitive wages and benefits, like health care? And if they can't do that, will that hold them back from creating new jobs and expanding their businesses?
Well, there's no question that the law only benefits, as I've said in my testimony, the primary benefits are to much bigger pass-through entities and large corporations. So we're not seeing, it's a combination of the anxiety you talk about, but also the fact that the real benefits are fairly small. There are definitely benefits to some small businesses, and there's definitely businesses to larger pass-through entities and other larger corporations, that, as you've heard here. But the combination of the anxiety and the combination of the fact that if you're going to pass a 1.5 trillion or 2.3 trillion, as I've heard here, hit to the deficit, you want to have those benefits more evenly spread and particularly benefiting small businesses. So we're not hearing that the tax law is creating any great interest in hiring or providing an investment to the vast majority of the 30 million small businesses out there.
Thank you. I yield back.
And with that, the subcommittee stands adjourned.
Thank you, Vern.